Alex here from Mesh. How are you today? Are you ready for the eye socket? Let's do it. Okay. In the last part, we did the whole retopology, so we're done with it. It was painfully slow, wasn't it? Okay. Oh, let's add a few more loops there. Yeah, we'll need those loops later on for the curling effect. It worked really well. Straighten those out just for the mirroring later on. I like things nice and tidy anyways. Okay. Smooth a little bit. Haven't brought myself back in. Okay. That's nice, low poly. Let's make it soft an edge to see how it's gonna look. Not too bad, but there are still areas which will need to be addressed. I don't want this edginess there. I think here I'm still thinking 3 on the keyboard to go into smooth mode. I think here I'm still thinking, am I gonna texture it in ZBrush or shall I try Substance Painter? But with Substance Painter, you saw how in soften edge mode looks. I would have had trouble with this and a normal map afterwards. So I think that's why I decided to do it in ZBrush. What am I doing here? I think my tool is stuck. Yeah, I'm trying to scale, but for some reason it's just... My little keyboard, this one, this one, sometimes when I use the shift and option buttons, even the B button, it kind of locks because it's got additional settings to it. So I'm still figuring it out, and sometimes my tool gets, locked. You see, it's not allowing me to scale it. My scale tool is not working. See, it's kind of locked. So let's try to reset the tool. Maybe that will help. Come on. Worst case scenario, I'll just get out of Maya and get back in. Oh, there we are. So with resetting the tool, it worked. Okay, doing the first loop there, trying to hide it behind the eye. Yeah, this time I am going to leave the eye socket not closed. If I wanted to do projection later on in ZBrush from the previous sculpted model that we used for the retopology, I would have needed to close the eye sockets. But since I've decided not to project it afterwards, I just left them open. I just decided that I'm going to spend less time sculpting again the details since I'm doing the top a bit on the back, on the tummy, on the chin. Since I'm doing them as separate objects, I decided it's just easier to leave it this way, because sometimes, especially with a mouth cavity geometry, and yeah, the eye socket is fine, but the mouth geometry, when you're projecting, even with the morphing, it's I still spend, last time I still spent quite a lot of time sculpting over the projected model, if you know what I mean. So this time I've decided to do it a bit differently. Yeah, getting those loops right is a very fiddly job. Since this is Pascal is, you must agree, his eye sockets are different than the human-like characters. So I'm trying to predict how I'm gonna close the eyelids, so I get the eyelids the way that they are originally on the original Pascal model. So it's difficult to predict, so it's just like try and error. Where shall I, place my loops, my geometry? So first, one thing, I've got enough geometry, and another thing, how to place them so I can close the eyelids as well, because they need to go over the eye, don't they? I hope you understand what I mean. Straighten those out a little bit. See what I'm thinking here. This loop, this one will be the one which I will get the edge here, possibly. I'm trying. Where is my mouse now? Not where is the move to. Here, those edges to come down as the top. Is that what I'm trying? Or those edges? Maybe those or those. We'll see later on what I've decided, how I've modeled it. Yeah, I want to add the loop there. There we are. We're in the soften edge mode, and now I'm in the smooth mode 3 on the keyboard. And I'm just trying to think, even with normal map in ZBrush, I still don't have enough geometry around the eyes. Yeah, the normal map from ZBrush works much better, I found out, than when I'm using low poly and high poly in Substance Painter to bake the normal map. There is a way of actually using the normal map from ZBrush into Substance Painter, but that's still for me to figure out how to do it. Let's move it a little bit. Scale it up so it goes over the eye, but now it will be visible from the front. I'll have a hole there. There we are. Move those a little bit this way. Maybe rotate it a little bit. There we are. Move it. Scale it. So it covers the eye. There is a lot of things I had to figure out for this character because it's not your usual character. I think I had similar problem with the frog from Princess and the Frog project that I did. And I still think that there were a few hiccups with his blend shapes, but that's how I learn. You know, the next one will be even better. That's why I like working on personal projects as well, because I choose projects which are challenging. For example, later on with Rapunzel, I loved the movie, and up until now, I was quite scared to make an attempt on creating these characters from Tangled, especially with Rapunzel's hair. So what I'm thinking is I'm gonna really try to do the dynamics with her hair, which will be very, very challenging. But that's how we learn, don't we? Yeah, that's how we learn. Still playing with the loops there. Maybe more experienced people would take much, much less time to do all this. For me, it's just figuring it out as I go and learning from the process. That thing needs to be rotated a bit. Yeah, this loop, not just scaled, not just moved, yeah. Sometimes I'm not sure whether I should rotate it or move it. I just keep trying what works best. That's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Okay. Shift select the loop so we can extrude. Control E on the keyboard for extruding. If you don't know the shortcut key. And I like working when I extrude, most of the time actually, I work with the move tool, scale tool, and rotate tool, not the native tool which comes after you extrude, if you know what I mean. Because sometimes it does work, sometimes it just doesn't work, it doesn't go the direction I wanted to go. Loop there, control on the keyboard. Place it where you need it. You see, we're in soften edge mode, and it's still there is like these edges here. You know, we don't want that. That's not going to work very well with a normal map. Because the last project I did for cartoon Geo character, that was the first time I actually attempted to use Substance Painter for texturing. I was learning UVs and everything with that project. Sculpt mode now. Yeah, and I had my low poly character with edges like this, and my high poly character obviously was with much, much more detail, and baking the normal map, it did not look right. I mean, it took me ages to figure out where to put the loops, how to put them, so when I bake the normal map, it looks actually nice. But from ZBrush, I think it works much nicer and with the previous character, when I hit 3 for the smooth mode, just the textures did not go where they were supposed to. So yeah, it took me a while until I figured out how to texture. I did manage to do it, And I learned a lot from that. So I'm still finding my feet how to do stuff, because there's so many ways of doing, the same thing or similar thing. Still figuring out which way is the best for me. Smooth tool or any other tool, and shift on the keyboard to use the smooth tool, like in ZBrush. Move those vertices a little bit. Sometimes it works, really well using the grab tool. Here it's a grab tool. In ZBrush is the move tool. In Blender is the grab tool as well, as far as I can remember. I actually learned sculpting in Blender. It was really good. What are we doing? Quad draw. Yeah, we can use the. Sometimes I use the quad draw too. I didn't want the loop there. Come on, Z. Yeah, I'm checking what's gonna happen if I add. If I add a loop on the top, I would need to add a loop on the bottom as well. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of that sharp edge here around the eyebrows. We are getting to my reference pictures. Yeah. Let's move this away. You see how his eyes, they have here that area where the eyelids will be closing. So that's what I'm trying to reproduce. Basically, top and a bottom eyelid, because at the moment it's just a circle, isn't it? So we need to create this corner of the eye area. That's why reference pictures are so important for a project. But unfortunately, I couldn't get any more, any better reference pictures for Pascal. I think that was okay. I know he doesn't look the same, but relatively close. Scale that a little bit so we get this nice edge there. We're in a smooth mode, 3 on the keyboard. Cement those loops around the eyes so we get a nice loop there. And you see, because now it's too close together, I don't want that sharp edge there. Trial and error. That's my motto. Trial and error. Shift select to select all the faces in a loop. Now I'm in normal mode, 1 on the keyboard. Yeah, because sometimes we need to keep jumping from 1 to 3 because the geometry gets too edgy otherwise. Shift select to select the whole loop. Scale it down a little bit. A bit more scale. Move it down on the Y. For me, it's the Y. For you, might not be the Y. Bear in mind. That's why I'm not using scale on the Y, move on the Z, or on the X. because I found out that not always what's on the tutorial video, it's true for my scene. I remember once I was doing connecting the blend shape deformers to the controls for the rig. And the tutorial was saying that I had to limit the information for my, I think it was on Y, but that was not the case for me. So I was doing it according to the tutorial and it was not working for me. It was not. I spent probably an hour and a half trying to figure out what I did wrong. And it was the axis. My axes weren't the same. So bear that in mind, yeah? Okay, we added another loop there so we get this nice popping out effect on the eyelids. Another loop there. Looks good. I mean, it was challenging figuring out how to do things. It was very challenging. Because you need to think in advance how I'm gonna texture it, how I'm gonna do the blend shape deformers, because the more geometry you have, the more time we'll spend on doing the blend shape deformers. That's a nice eye. Now we need to create this corner of the eyes where the upper and the lower eyelids will meet. Oh, he's so cute. Yeah. Here is the corner of the eye, which I will need now to reproduce. We're nearly done with this one. Hang in there. I'm thinking here. I wasn't interrupted or anything. I'm just thinking. Where the eyelids will meet. I think I'm gonna try a soft select. I'm using that paintbrush because this one is really good because you don't need to hold the shift key. You just paint over the vertices. Well, with the rest of the tools, you need to hold the shift key to select and control to deselect. With this one, you can just paint over. Yeah, scale it a little bit. So we created this corner of the eye, move it. There we are. See? That's nice. Again, the paint selection tool. I'm not sure how it's called. I really like that paint tool. Bad. Let's do the other corner. Yeah, let's select all of them. Push them in a little bit. Again, I'm not gonna use axis because for you it might not be the same. It will just confuse you some more. And I think we're done. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.